This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is brought to you by the fine folks at Squarespace. Squarespace makes it easy to turn your idea into a new and unique website, showcasing your work, blog, or content. You can even sell products and services of all kinds in just a few clicks. You can customize everything from the look and feel to settings and products using beautiful templates created by world-class designers. And there's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. In fact, if you're getting married and you're in charge of making the website, I'd recommend Squarespace to make your website because that's exactly what I did. And it looked great. People showed up. Head over to Squarespace right now for your free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code TEST to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, November 16th, 2017, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hey everyone, I'm Norm. Joining me today is Jeremy Williams.
Hello, Norm.
And Kishore Hari.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
The holidays are upon us at the end of November. Actually, for a lot of people, it's after Halloween, the holidays were. But you can actually start celebrating the holidays because, Kishore, you're finally wrapped up with the Bay Area Science Festival.
I'm done.
You're done.
Congratulations.
And drop that science. No more science until next year.
Science is canceled till 2018.
And you had your the culmination of the Bay Area Science Festival every year in the past couple of years has culminated in this massive event. How'd it go at AT&T Park?
Yeah, we do a big hands-on day at AT&T Park where all the universities and science museums come together to host a free day where you get to interact with scientists and do activities. It was great. Like 30,000. Oh, yeah.
I was one of the 30,000.
Yeah, Jeremy and Peter showed
Yep.
up.
And I was amazed. You don't pay to get into the park. This doesn't happen. It was amazing.
Yeah. You shouldn't have to pay for science.
It's fantastic. I showed up and I got through security, and then I was floored. I was able to walk out onto the baseball diamond.
That's the thing that I think surprises people because, for example, at Comic-Con, sometimes companies rent out Petco Park, which is San Diego's ballpark for the Padres. But really, they don't use the field. They use the mezzanine area, like where the concessions are. AT&T Park, you actually have tents and events on the field. Do people go just to say they go on the field and run around and throw baseballs?
Sure, but what we do is we put a telescope between second and third base so they have to stop and look at the sun. So it's like you can run the bases, but you're going to learn
you're going to blind yourself. No one gets blinded.
That was great.
Wow, 30,000 people. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
It's awesome. It's 7th year we do it. And I think it works partially because we do it in a non-traditional science location. So just like you said, some people are baseball fans that come out, and tough luck, they look around after running the bases and they're surrounded by science. Got to learn now.
Dude also has a camera crew following him around that projects him live up onto the big screen.
A wireless system?
Yeah, so throughout every half hour I was doing hits to the scoreboard, where I would show up and be on audio throughout the ballpark, like showing off exhibits. I definitely do not have a career in that.
You're no
ample evidence.
You're no Amy G talking to the home fans and giving out T-shirts. And
you should have seen how flustered I was when I was trying to talk to the scientist who was dissecting a sheep brain. I'm like, I'm not sure how to do this on the
scoreboard. Kishore. We have like half a dozen sheep brains in our fridge.
Oh, yeah. I should take those back.
I was actually well impressed because there is about a 1 second delay from when you speak to when it comes out of the loudspeakers, which you hear clearly.
Oh, so you get psyched out.
So he just talks through himself. Like you have to ignore yourself.
It's really hard. There's this phenomenon when you hear yourself played back to you, especially if it's on a delay, you won't be able to speak anymore. Mm-hmm. You start to slow down or you change your speed accordingly. And so I had to fight through this by basically basically shutting off my ears by just focusing on like a faraway object. I'm just like, I'm not hearing this. I was like humming in my head.
You're talking about zero self-awareness.
Yeah, I think my wife says I have that.
That's very zen.
Yeah. So in addition to that event, there was another event that happened this weekend. Jeremy, you were at Day of the Devs.
Day of the Devs is the annual independent games festival held here by Double Fine. I guess I don't know if they hold it, but they certainly sponsor it and help run it. And that's actually in the same neighborhood as the ballpark, just south of it in Dogpatch. And I took my son, as we always do, and had a great time. The quality of independent games, my friends, I am more impressed than ever. Like, I've always thought independent games were cool, but I've always felt like there were some compromises being made. And to an extent, there's always going to be. You're not going to be able to afford the big budget vistas and the high-res textures, geometry, the things that take brute force and man hours. But the game quality is just as enticing.
And the innovation.
The innovation and the graphical aesthetic that the independent games have embraced is not just 8-bit. Like, it is wide-ranging. It is consistently beautiful now. And I love that this has happened. I feel like there's no more compromises.
Any favorites jump out at you?
There is a VR game that I got to play that was actually debuted there called The Rig. And they're actually a local team, so we hope to bring them in to talk to us at some point. I got to play UFO 50 finally, which is the game by the maker of Spelunky. And 4 other developers. They came together. They're making 50 games, and they're combining them into a single package. And they're all like SNES, maybe NES style. But they're complete games. Like, they're saying they're not mini games. They're full games. There's 50 of them, and you'll pay a full price for them. And like, what amazes me about this is not the product. It's the design of it. It's like, how do you not get lost in one of them? Like, if you're a developer and you have to make, well, maybe each of them is making 10 or 15 games, how do you not just fall in love with one of them and go deep on it and make it so much better than the other ones? So that's amazing to me. So I did ask him about that, and he said, the developer of Spelunky, and he said that they designed them all ahead of time, and that they just stuck to the designs of the games that they had written down, which to me it just speaks of tremendous discipline.
Is this a thing that was open to the public too?
Totally, and also free. So lots of good free events this past weekend.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What'd you do, Norm?
Well, I drove to LA.
That's not free.
No, it's not free. I drove to LA at I started driving at 9:30 p.m. on Thursday night. Yeah.
And
and got there at 4 a.m.
Some people go to bed then.
I know.
You wish you were on the sleep bus, didn't you?
Yeah, I totally wish I was on the sleep bus. So I drove down with Danica and Ripley, and we did a couple things in the LA area over the weekend. One, we stopped by a prop store. So prop store of London. They also have a LA warehouse. We see them at Comic-Cons and a bunch of other pop culture conventions. But they have an upcoming auction that we want to check out, and we'll have a video of that soon, of almost entirety of costumes and props. I think 400 lots of costumes and props from the J.J. Abrams Star Trek film. So, yeah, I touched a lot.
The original Star Trek.
2009,
the original J.J. Abrams.
Yes, the first two, Star Trek 2009 and Star Trek Into Darkness. Not Star Trek Beyond, which I love those costumes that Justin Lin had made up, but I handled a lot of props, and it was very, very fun.
And you already own the Anovos shirt
I do.
From that.
Yes, and I
film.
was very impressed by what how similar the quality was. There's definitely some differences in the stitching and even just a little bit in the fabric feel, but I think they got really close, at least with this one. But it was really cool to see things like the Kelvin uniforms, a lot of the dress uniforms. Some of my favorite costumes from the Star Trek films are actually the cadet uniforms and the formal uniforms. I think they have a really nice silhouette to them. And then the phasers, like, the phaser where you press the button and it goes from stun to kill.
Don't they all do that?
Yes.
Okay.
But they had one that was on the hero one on camera, actually functioning mechanism. Yeah.
It was a real phaser that you could kill somebody with?
Totally. It's set to stun. Be very careful where you point that at.
Did you? And that's where you interviewed the model maker who made the.
No. So that was a separate event, and the primary reason we went down to LA was to visit DesignerCon, which is my favorite convention of the year. It's at the Pasadena Convention Center. We're there Saturday, and it's basically artists, toy designers, collectible designers, sculptors who set up booths. And I always describe it as when you go to a Renegade Craft Fair or Bazaar Bazaar, and you see like the 3 tables you like of like the screen printed art or like the custom sculpts, and the rest are soaps and woodland creatures. Like this is those 3 tables, but 500 tables.
Jeez.
And couldn't see everything I wanted to. I'll give out some highlights. We're putting out videos this week. But yes, like you mentioned, Kishore, I met up with Ironhead Studio. Then they had fabricated the headdress that Kate Blanchett wears in Thor Ragnarok. Now, it wasn't for all the scenes. It was a lot for the promo photos, and it was stand-ins for some of the scenes. But
It was
looked
beautiful.
Beautiful. She actually wore it.
It's going to be the new Starbucks logo.
Yeah.
The finishing on that in particular is amazing.
God. And then the fact that it's all, they call it grown. So it's kind of interesting. Like the special effects industry, they just can't say it's 3D printed. They say it's grown.
Really?
Yeah, that's their parlance. Like, oh, how was that made? They'll say, oh, that was hand sculpted, or that was cast. That was grown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we start saying that?
We could totally say so.
All right.
I was trying to think about that. Why do you think they say that? Is it because like because printing is already so associated with like textile printing and like plotting, or is it because there's like a mystique to the way it comes out of the printer?
Is it separating from the amateurs? Like 3D printed is the word that anyone can use.
No,
But
maybe
is
it's
it
like
like
syllables, like fewer syllables. 3D printed, 4 syllables, or grown.
Yeah. It's just brevity.
I like it though. Like I'm just hearing it more and more. How was that made? Oh, it was grown.
I'm Sean Charlesworth,
Oh,
a
wait.
grown expert.
Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't
That
get to
doesn't
ask
work.
Jose Fernandez about that, but I did chat with him. He's the founder of Ironhead Studio. Sculptor of things like the Batman costumes from the Joel Schumacher days, the Catwoman costume from Batman
Like,
Returns.
Last year, he had the Black Panther helmet.
He had
it
the
was
black,
beautiful.
Yep. They did fabrication for Black Panther, for Spider-Man, all sorts of stuff. That thing was just magnificent in person. But that's like probably the most high-profile thing. There are a lot of independent toy makers. There are these 2 guys. They're just in LA, designers. One's a hand sculptor, one's a blender sculptor, and they together made a 70-piece kit, hoverbike kit, garage kit,
What are you talking about?
and like a 1/8 scale model kit.
Okay.
And there's a garage kit, totally hand cast, all 3D printed parts. It's intricate, and it's all open source software they use.
What do you mean a hoverbike? Like the Jedi thing?
No,
Endor?
it's their own design, completely their own design.
Wow.
I'll show you a picture of it, Jeremy, so you have a quick reference. But looks like that. Looks like very from out of a Kira or something, or
Yeah.
like a futuristic Honda bike.
Wicked.
But everything, like, this is something that if you have 3D designing skills, 3D modeling skills, if your day job is working for a video game company or even previous for a movie studio, you can make your own toys and you can make your own model kits.
Yep.
And they had 6 of them. They were casting parts that morning, bring them in, and they sold out at the show. So super happy for them. I met up with a guy who designs keyboard keycaps.
Okay. You have some experience with this because you have.
Yeah. We have a friend, Ryan Norbau, who makes custom cases, milled cases, chassis, and also has made keycaps. So this guy, his whole business is modeling in ZBrush 3D keycaps, custom keycaps for your escape key, for your pause key, and then printing them on like a Form 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he prints them
He
16
grew
at a
them.
time. He
Grows
grows
them.
them on a Form 2, paints them, and sells them at like $10 to $30 a pop.
I think that's pretty
A
smart.
key?
A key.
Well, now
Wow.
they're treated like they're not straight off the printer, right? Like
Well, he'll
does a
do,
nice
he'll do
finishing
some
job.
he'll nice painting jobs on some of them. The straight ones off the printer, which are super clean. There's some, and I'll show you some. There's a video coming up later this week about this. But like skulls where you can see through like the jaw,
Yeah.
or holes in the eyes.
So using a Form 2 for it.
Using a Form 2, and the resolution is just enough that you can get all that detail.
I think it's really smart. I'm always impressed when people come up with smart businesses that rely on existing infrastructures like keyboards,
Right.
or music collections with the iPod.
And there are
things
tons of
like
mechanical keyboard fans out there who like their signature thing is not only the keycaps, the custom caps for the rest of the typing keys, but like the one accent key in the top right or top left of their keyboard.
Yeah.
And the fact that this guy can quit his job as a CG artist and
that. He's that successful with keys.
he Twitch streams 3D modeling, like does tutorials.
Yeah,
And then he makes keyboard keys.
living the dream.
And
Wow.
his canvas is this 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch thing, which is a key, right? Like
Yeah.
that's his canvas.
All right.
It's super cool.
Quick tangent. Since you mentioned hoverbike, did you guys see the Real-Life Hoverbikes?
No.
Oh my God, speeder bike, you mean?
Yeah, speeder bikes from Star Wars. People built like a case of a speeder bike around either like a motorcycle or an electric bike and drove them around New York.
So they're obscuring the wheels. They're making it look like they're hovering, but
Like they have mirrors on
Pretty
them.
good illusion.
Yeah, it's a really great illusion, and the best bit is basically it's two rebels on a bike like Luke and Leia, and they eventually pass like a stormtrooper just sitting there hanging out, just eating his lunch on it.
That's great.
And then he like just takes off after them.
I love it. There was somebody who did who was Aladdin on a floating magic carpet.
Wasn't that Casey Neistat?
No, he did like a
Yeah.
snowboarding thing.
Yes.
Oh,
No, he was Aladdin on a but it was basically using a boosted board beneath the magic carpet. It was pretty convincing.
same idea.
I did see Thor, by the way, Ragnarok.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I liked it.
We're going to talk about that in our next segment. We have one more item. Hey, guys, Black Friday coming up next Friday. Kishore, now that you're done with science,
I think I'm the only one left that likes Black Friday, except the millions of people that go out on Black Friday.
What are the things you guys are looking out for?
This year, I'm traveling on Black Friday. I'm going to see family in Florida, and I'm flying back that day. So I think I'll miss out on the madness.
It's all weekend now. It's just, Cyber Monday, whatnot. You'll be fine.
Really, though?
Yes, really.
Do I not? Should I go to Black Friday at the shopping mall inside the airport?
That's funny.
They're gonna have it. I know.
No, they won't. No, they won't. The Best Buy kiosk will remain the same price, especially on a high travel weekend. Come on, no one's
Come on.
There's no no
the line at the Best Buy kiosk would be amazing.
TSA busters,
Dude, I should just pack a tent and put up a tent outside the Best Buy kiosk in the mall in the airport.
There you go.
That's great. Oh, are we playing music now?
All right, let's go to pop culture. All right, so we have a lot to get through. Let's quickly talk about Thor. You saw it?
We don't have to.
Did you?
I'm just
you
saying,
said you enjoyed it?
Because it came up.
Okay.
So I said I saw it, yeah, and I did like it. I was surprised. I mean, I liked it. It's not my favorite Marvel film ever, but I was surprised after I got home. I was getting on Twitter and I saw a friend of mine, like a good friend, Sam, who works at IGN, Sam Claiborne. It's his favorite Marvel film. Wow,
it's so different. I think a lot of people felt the same way when the first Guardians of the Galaxy came out because it was so different.
Yeah.
This one being just a 180 from Thor 2, which was super serious.
Okay.
This one being just so much fun.
Yeah, you had said that you didn't like all the banter, like all the jokes, just constant, in your face.
Yeah, I thought it was a little too comedic.
For me, I liked that because I didn't care about the film. Now, I imagine if you go into these films and you are invested in these stories, these comic book characters, and you want to see these taken a little bit seriously, that could happen. And if anybody did this to Star Wars, I would hate it.
Guess what, Jeremy?
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
I know it will.
Yeah. It's still in theaters. A totally ton of fun. I think fun is what everyone's saying about it. All right. Let's get to the big pop culture news this week. And unfortunately, we don't have Will today, but Will Smith is needed by Will Smith.
That's always the case.
All the Will Smiths are needed by Will Smith.
So Will Smith, the actor, apparently has a deal with Netflix. He has a movie coming out with Netflix coming out soon. Blight, I want to say it's called.
Bright?
Bright, maybe. It's David Ayers directing it. It's like Training Day plus magic. And he has more projects coming out with Netflix, maybe a TV show. And so he posted on Twitter through the Netflix Twitter handle that is your name Will Smith?
You're kidding.
If your name is actually Will Smith, please see below for an urgent message. Yeah. Will Smith is calling out anyone's name who's Will Smith.
To do what?
We don't know. To collaborate with him in some documentary, some TV show, something.
So breaking news from our Will Smith's Twitch stream last night. He divulged that he did respond and also said, please stop tweeting at him. Please stop adding him about this. Did respond, and Netflix gave him some instructions, but he's not sure he has time to go along with this.
Oh, he's turning down the one thing his life has built up to. You know, it could be like it could be something silly. It could be something like just make a video of yourself, like
Birth of a child, forget it.
I mean,
Marriage,
he
forget
is
it.
at Will
Starting your
Smith.
own business, forget it. Here's your moment, Will Smith.
At Will Smith. All right. Well, I hope he's involved in it. I think it'd be cool to see Will Smiths collide.
I do too.
I think our Will Smith is the fourth most famous Will Smith too.
What?
Fourth, I was gonna say second. What?
No.
Where
So
is
okay,
verified?
we know who's number one. There's the defensive end for the New Orleans Saints, who is tragically murdered.
My God.
And then there's the current baseball player Will Smith.
Well, hey.
And I think sports trumps VR startup.
it does for you, maybe.
Okay,
Yeah, it
fine.
depends on what
okay,
circle.
Fine. Okay, fine.
Not for me.
Fine.
All right. We hope something comes of this. We are going to be waiting with bated breath to see the Will Smith collaboration. It's going to be just be like the HBO documentary, the whatchamacallit, Defiant Ones, right? Except starring Will Smith. About Will Smith.
That makes no sense. They didn't like bring in everybody named Dr. Dre.
I want the production value to be like that, and I want to see the Will Smith we know in that type of film.
Bunch of doctors.
All right. A bunch of other movies coming out. I'm surprised that Justice League, which is coming out at the end of this week, I have not seen a lot of hyper advertising for it.
Let me check
It
their
seems
score on
very
Rotten
subdued.
Tomatoes. Oh wait,
There is no score. So as we're recording this on Wednesday. The reviews for Justice League have actually just been lifted this morning, like 2:30 in the morning. So people have seen it. For example, Aisle 9 says the movie isn't great, but it sets up great things to come. I'm not going to read any more into that.
that is a horrible review.
Yeah, well, that's the headline. And Rotten Tomatoes put an embargo on they decided to delay the certification. Now, if you wanted to look at all because the embargo's up, so you can be your own Rotten Tomatoes and just find all the reviews.
No score yet.
And you can qualify them, and then you can tally up and make your own assessment of what the quote-unquote tomato meter score would be.
Yeah.
But Rotten Tomatoes will not give a fresh or rotten certification or a percentage until this next day, the day before the film comes out.
Until the reviews are officially released.
The reviews are released. They are delaying it even past the reviews.
I don't understand. Why would they do
Why
that?
would they do that?
There's two points of conspiracy. One is that they're talking about holding that certification and that score until Rotten Tomatoes launches the first episode of this new show they're doing,
Rotten Tomatoes is doing a show?
like a web show.
They used to have a show that was really good.
What's
Yeah.
that? What's that going to be rated? That's stupid.
Well, the idea is that they're going to talk about movies and they're going to unveil the scores on the shows,
Oh, okay.
right?
Okay.
And so everyone's waiting to see if Justice League is fresh or rotten. So now you have a reason to watch this Rotten Tomatoes show
All right.
to see the score. Whatever. It's their prerogative.
Okay.
The other reason is that Rotten Tomatoes is owned by Fandango. And so this is potentially
Oh my
the
God.
bigger conspiracies. They don't want to hold a score because they want more ticket sales
Oh my
and
God.
make more money.
That's that I don't believe that conspiracy. Only because that seems like a good way to ruin Rotten Tomatoes' entire business.
Like if you go to Rotten Tomatoes and you go to the Justice League page, it says under the tomato meter, follow Rotten Tomatoes, see it/skip it for the tomato meter score reveal at 12:01 Eastern time.
I don't know. These executives, man, they are all about the short-term thinking.
This is dumb.
They see an investment. They probably put $150 million into Justice League or something like that. And if it is as bad as it appears to be, they're scared out of their pants. They're going to go to Rotten Tomatoes and say, withhold the review. I would totally
No,
buy
there's
that.
but that's
It's wrong.
it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
and-
and also they don't list any of the critics' reviews on the page right now.
Yeah, there's no inventory of any of the critics' reviews.
I could stomach the idea they aren't going to put up a score, but all the critics' reviews are there as
right,
they
like
get
the
published.
quotes, select quotes, and
Yeah.
you can link around.
Not even that.
I think
That's
we give
lame.
Rotten Tomatoes too much power. Not in terms of box office, but in terms of like how we ingest and how we survey reviewers.
Now you sound like a movie executive. Yeah, they said that earlier this year.
Well, Metacritic has their score, and their score isn't a see it, skip it style plus thumbs up, thumbs down. It is an average of the actual review scores, and their score for Justice League. Anyone want to take a guess?
47.
38.
Higher.
Okay.
51.
All right.
Yeah.
51%.
Still an F, but okay.
A friend of Tested, Alan Pan, got to see an early review, and he said, if you take out all the bits with Flash, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman, if you leave in, if you just like excise all of the other bits where they're not in, it was a pretty good movie.
Really?
And I was like, yep, that's what I expected.
Wait, Flash and Wonder Woman?
No, he's saying that the Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman bits are good.
Oh, got it. If you just take those, if
But
you
not
just
the
watch
Batman.
those.
But see, the Batman was, people said
That
they
tracks.
liked him in Batman versus Superman. They thought Ben Affleck wasn't the problem in that film.
Ah, that's true. But
Interesting. You know, Gal Gadot went straight from Wonder Woman to this. No one had seen Wonder Woman by the time they finished shooting on this film. So that's interesting going to see it, because she won't have a big head about it. Like, she's just still her modest, this is my first film. No one knows.
Well, there's also, they brought Joss Whedon in to do the reshoots, and the whole Zack Snyder departing from the film thing. So there's just no awareness or buzz, I feel like, about this. I mean, I'm sure it'll do reasonably well. It'll make money. But
you're
I'm
going to
curious
get
about all this.
quite the rant in 2 weeks when I'm back on the podcast about this
Do
movie.
you have
once I see
tickets
it.
to watch it?
I am going to go watch it next week. Yeah.
I bet kids will like it, because they're not as discerning.
kids have terrible opinions.
Yeah,
about things.
they like all this stuff.
They like so much stuff.
What I know I'm going to be offended about is the DC source material for Justice League is so good. It is so good. They have these,
give that. You got to give that up.
I know. That's I can't give it up.
Okay. They better not make any jokes in Justice League.
No, it's not that. It's not that at all.
Now, a movie that I hope people do watch, and I can vouch, it's fantastic.
You've seen it?
Disney Pixar's Coco.
You saw it?
I saw it
Shut
on
up.
Sunday.
What?
And I will not shut up.
I hate you.
I'm sorry. We know people who work at Pixar, and were invited to a screening late in the weekend.
Some of us were invited
went
to a screening.
at Pixar.
Oh, that's great.
That is pretty cool.
And it's great. I definitely teared up.
I believe it.
So that's all I'll say.
It's on par with some of your, the top tier Pixar movies.
It's so tough to say because visually, I would say the movie that it's closest to is Ratatouille.
Oh,
Now,
interesting.
How do you figure that?
So do you remember the thing that struck me the most about Ratatouille was like Paris and how
Yeah.
they made Paris just glowing and beautiful. They make the worlds in this film just as beautiful, if not
so
more.
I get that from
Yeah.
the trailer.
So that's what I would connect it most with. And then, gosh, I would say it's closer to Up than it is to Brave.
So come in 10 minutes late.
What does that mean?
That means come in 10 minutes late.
Yeah, it means you're gonna cry.
In terms of the emotional resonance.
Okay.
That's great. That's all you want from a Pixar movie.
The thing, I'll see every Pixar film.
Yep.
But I'm curious about this one as a Pixar fan to see Lee Unkrich's second film, because I'm not the biggest fan of Toy Story 3.
You're not?
Even though it is their by far most successful film.
It
I
is?
think it's their only film to gross more than $1 billion.
Now, finding Dory must have
Internationally.
at this point.
Maybe there's a list on Wikipedia. If so, fine. Toy Story 3 is up there. And I'm not that big of a fan. I felt like Toy Story 3 was made for the same generation as Toy Story 1 and 2, having grown up. And I wanted to see another film made for the kids, like where the bad guy isn't like just totally a bad guy.
That's Toy Story 4. Toy Story 3 was the end, the closing
Yeah,
of
Toy Story
a
3 was a great
bookend.
conclusion.
I don't want to get into that. I'm
Sure,
just saying
sure.
I believe I'm going to like this film more, and I'm excited to see it.
Wait. This brings up a question. What is your favorite Pixar movie?
Me?
For everybody here.
Oh, I used to say The Incredibles because there were only like 5 or 6 films by then. But now, man, I don't know. Inside Out's great.
So I'll say about this: Inside Out
Up is great.
is a movie that you can like use to teach your kids. And there's some films that have like these themes that you can use to like teach your kids. And I think that's one of the things that Pixar does really well is like they have these universal themes and universal life lessons, like relationships between a father and letting your child go, or a mother and letting your daughter go, and brave, or respecting your heritage, or inner conflict, or like there's total universal themes. And I think Coco nails one of those really well.
All right.
And so it's like they stick the landing. So Yeah,
It's weird. Incredibles was high on my. It was number
Yeah.
one for me for a long time, but I think it's Wall-E.
it's Wall-E.
See, Wall-E, it's such a different film, first half and second half. I was like
Yeah.
floored by the first 20 minutes.
The first 20 minutes
first
were
act.
incredible.
And then I kind of I didn't like for the first time I saw it. It grew on me. I liked it.
They've had so many films now.
Yes.
So many films.
many.
It's tough to do like a favorite or best of.
Somebody made a point recently, I believe on Reddit, where they said that The Incredibles is interesting because if you take all the superhero films that have ever been made, rarely do you see a superhero film where all of the characters use their powers together to create more powerful effects.
That's what Justice League is supposed to be.
Bringing it back to the current. Nicely done.
All right, and so Coco does come out Thanksgiving, and they didn't show the short that goes along with it. ahead of it,
so you got to go see it again.
I got to see it again.
All right.
Yeah, totally. Future movies coming out 2018. We have a teaser for Deadpool. Is that right? Deadpool 2?
Yeah, I guess you can't watch trailers.
I'm not going to watch it.
I'm going to spoil something for you. It starts with Deadpool as Bob Ross,
great.
the painter.
Okay. In a Bob Ross-esque, like...
In a full Bob Ross 1980s shot, stylized, he's painting happy trees for a while, just being Deadpool. And then it cuts to maybe 30 seconds of actual footage. And yeah, that's I'm not going to... It's very Deadpool. There is a lot of Deadpool sayings. Do not watch this teaser trailer with your children. And yeah, Deadpool. He's Deadpooling.
I should finally watch Deadpool, I suppose.
Not with your kids.
Watch it for yourself. All right. Biggest movie news this week. Biggest pop culture news this past week. Last Jedi's not even out yet, but Rian Johnson has been signed to spearhead, to write and direct, and maybe write and direct all three, who knows, but definitely to create a new Star Wars trilogy.
Going all in.
Not just an in-between films one-off, a trilogy. Now, this speaks to, I think it's a great marketing move, speaks to Disney's confidence in Last Jedi to really just sweep away all those rumors that they were unhappy with any of the cuts that he turned in.
And their ability to work with him.
And their ability to work with young directors. And so how this will bear out remains to be seen. Like, who knows if they'll actually, keep him around for all three of those films. But the hope is, wow, they're handing the reins of the extended universe to someone to create a new trilogy that's not the Skywalker's trilogy.
Well, let's hold on here. Kathleen Kennedy has proven that she's handing you the reins for as long as she's handing you the reins.
Like a good mom.
The other thing is, I want to believe that when the announcement came, that it was full on just like the end of New Hope, with just like a scene of Rian Johnson walking down the aisle and Kathleen Kennedy as Leia putting the medal on him. You are now bequeathed the next trilogy. And then R2 comes out and laughs and everyone smiles.
Who doesn't get the medal?
Well, we kind of know it's Colin.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about a trilogy about characters that you've never met before?
I love it.
Great.
I love it. But the big question is where it's a big universe. One, I mean, I guess they can travel around pretty quickly. Which part of the Star Wars universe is it going to be? Is it going to be primarily Rebellion, Resistance and Empire, or is this just something completely different? I feel like it's going to have Jedi. This is like the thing that's going to hold droids and Jedi, or like the thing that are going to hold the universes together,
right? Or at least like a Rogue One level of the Force. Like you need the Force.
You need the Force, right? And then what time?
I want to go future.
Whoa, you don't want to go back?
I mean, Darth Plagueis, like going back to that kind of stuff could be interesting, but in service of having brand new characters, I think going forward is the only way.
You think that the end of the third Star Wars film, whatever it's called after Last Jedi, that will be the closing of the Skywalker trilogy? Like they're not going to try to build franchises around Rey, BB-8, Finn.
I think it could be an offshoot of Rey, or I think I could see Finn. Like he's not the central character, but he could
a crossover character.
Yeah,
I don't want to see crossover characters. I want a completely new cast of characters.
If you're asking, who I really want to see is Grand Admiral Thrawn get a series built around him.
Who's that?
He's from the books, and he was sort of like a incredibly tactically efficient, whatever
Character.
from the Empire.
Okay.
He was a admiral that really turned the tide post Luke Skywalker, and
From a book that is no longer canon.
yes,
No.
it was from the Timothy Zahn books. So I would love to see him. Like, it'd be a very different type of villain. It's like what Hux is supposed to be, and Hux is basically just like, I'm just standing here.
Yeah, and I'll go with something just completely different.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
fine with
I
completely
feel like
different.
people aren't good at that, and I don't know if it's because they want to pay fan service. They feel like the fans want to have those little nuggets thrown in, like, oh, I
Right.
recognize that guy,
Right.
or characters that come in and refer to things that when in reality they probably wouldn't be doing that unless they were truly legendary characters and they were referring to like, the ancient times.
We've gotten so much fan service.
Yeah, and I'm with Norm where I want to see a clean slate, and it would be interesting to see what that would be set in the same universe.
Whereas the original Star Wars took a lot from Kurosawa films and westerns, like, and you having the heist and the smuggler, like, these are themes and tropes that have been in Star Wars. I want them to take from other things.
Like
mix,
Thor Ragnarok. Like, pull the comedic bits. It's happening.
or in
It's
that case,
happening.
pull the Kirby. Pull the Kirby.
You could do
Yes.
an edit of Thor once it comes out on Blu-ray with all the jokes cut out. See what you think.
Now, if you're not into a Rian Johnson spearheaded new trilogy of Star Wars, well, you'll get more Star Wars because Disney also apparently has plans to create a live-action Star Wars TV show for their streaming service, their Netflix competitor.
And that's when I decided I would sign up for it.
There you go.
I mean, and I'm sure I'm not alone.
Star Trek Discovery not enough.
That's it.
But Star Wars show on whatever Disney does, which will probably have all the Marvel films,
Yeah.
right,
sure.
and all the Star Wars films.
Yep.
That's a library right there. That's $10 a month. There you go.
I'm
All right.
not excited about this
You're not. Why?
because it'll be serialized because that's the trend right
Yep.
now.
Yeah.
And I think I think there's something to be said for building up anticipation for Star Wars just to have a movie every year.
What about Rebels?
I haven't really watched the cartoons.
Well, a lot of people love the cartoon and appreciate
That's
it.
fair. But
I
this
think
isn't
this-
a cartoon. This is going to be a more serious thing.
Yeah. The same questions apply.
You're
right?
crazy. You're going to watch this.
Oh, I'm going to watch it, but I watch a lot of bad stuff too.
Okay. All right.
I mean, and the same things apply for what they're talking about in the movies and this potential new show. Is that how much of a shared universe will be in? How many cameos will you see? Will you see cameos? It's going to be more like Netflix, Marvel, with the Defenders, and that having basically started with loose ties to the films and now having zero ties to the films.
Do you think that they'll leverage their connection to the Marvel masterminds who created the MCU in order to do the same for Star Wars here?
I hope not.
Really?
I
But
don't need
they've absolutely nailed it.
for Marvel.
Yeah.
That's because they have a roster of a bajillion characters already. Star Wars doesn't have that. Star Wars has the core characters. And I think do something new. Not try to force this intermingling of characters,
Right.
and of a forced. I think that's what's not worked with a lot of other studios and trying to create a shared universe from scratch without the characters that people love already.
I got it.
Do something that stands on its own and then think about bringing it together.
I got it. An Office style
Confessional?
takedown of the building of the Death Star.
All
That's
right.
it.
Or
right there.
Jabba's Palace.
Sure.
Oh, God. That would be it, wouldn't it?
Now, if you're not into Star Wars, and then maybe the Orville and Discovery isn't your thing, what you have coming up through Amazon is, well, Galaxy Quest, the TV show. And Paul Scheer's working on this, and he talked a little about their approach, the direction. I'm totally sold on this. They're definitely taking the same kind of approach that like Blade Runner and even Force Awakens did, and setting it linearly. It's X number of years after the original movie, and it's in a universe where Galaxy Quest is essentially their Star Trek or Star Wars. It is as popular as Star Trek or Star Wars is in our world.
Okay.
Where back when Galaxy Quest was made in 1999, nerddom fandom it's still niche. Now it's kind of exploded, right? So the approach they're taking is, what if in Galaxy Quest: The Next Generation, like the follow-up, the BSG version of Galaxy Quest, like those are the people, those are the actors, and those are the relationships they want to explore. And what if they're like rock stars at Comic-Con?
So it's not any of the original cast.
They may have some original cast, and it may be like the original cast plays, like what William Shatner,
Like cameos.
Exactly, like they're the old guard,
Right.
Galaxy Quest TNG makes sense.
and it's more like Galaxy Quest like Discovery, or Galaxy Quest like Force Awakens,
That's interesting.
right?
Yeah.
like the relationship between Galaxy Quest explored the relationships between fans, actors, and then the actors and the shows they're on in this kind of retrospective, nostalgic view, but modernizing it, and fans' relationships with actors and actors' relationships with their roles are completely different today.
But in the same way that the original Star Trek now sort of appears somewhat campy, and they
Yep.
played it that way in Galaxy Quest.
Right.
Next Gen Star Trek was a lot more serious.
And Discovery, really serious. So
Yeah.
maybe the Galaxy Quest TV show that this new show is about is something that takes itself really seriously.
That's interesting.
Right. I like it. I like that they're not just going back to the well and doing something new with it. Amazon also dropped a ton of money this week on a new series that it's going to be their Game of Thrones. It's Lord of the Rings.
But who?
Lord of the Rings, Amazon. So there was a bidding war, apparently. So the Tolkien estate, and lots of news happening with the Tolkien estate this week. Apparently, Tolkien's son has now, who's 93 years old, has stepped down from the reins of managing the estate.
They settled that lawsuit. They had a long-term lawsuit. Was it Warner Brothers or whatever studio it was? But they
Maybe
settled
New
it.
Line. I don't know exactly who. Yeah, but they were looking for suitors to produce a TV show, and the asking price just for the rights for this was $250 million, upwards of. Don't know the exact financials.
Oh, man.
So the rumors are now that they were asking HBO, Netflix, Amazon, or Hulu, whoever had the money, whoever had the pocketbooks, to say, give us $200 to $250 million just so you could have some of the Lord of the Rings characters, not even all of them. Not all of them were included. And you could do a TV show, and this does not include production costs. So you're talking about doing a Game of Thrones like TV show that costs $100 million a year. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
$500 million for a long... But Amazon has the money, and apparently Jeff Bezos says he wants his Game of Thrones. So they're going to spend the money, and this could be their Game of Thrones.
What story do you want to hear from Lord of the Rings?
I've seen everything I want to hear. There were 6 movies.
I mean, I guess you could.
There's like 30 hours of film.
There should have been 4 movies. I think something about Sauron's rise to power could be interesting because there is a lot of story there.
Yeah.
But come on, we all want one thing.
What?
Tom Bombadil. Come on. When Tom Bombadil got no play in the movies, got cut out of the movies, where is our bard singing songs? Did you read the books?
Uh-huh. Yeah, but I don't remember Tom Bombadil.
You didn't remember Tom Bombadillo? The greatest Lord of the Rings character of all time?
Do you want them to retread Lord of the Rings?
No, I think prequel is the only way to go, though. Because where do you go after?
Well, here's the other question.
Isn't Hobbit prequel?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but there's more prequel. The question I have is Weta involved? If Weta Workshop and the look of the film, Peter Jackson, Weta Workshop is not involved, then I actually have no problem with them retreading Lord of the Rings, because the movie is 2 decades old now almost. It's getting, by the time this comes out, it'll be 20 years old, and there'll be a lot of fans who...
No.
Wow.
No.
Okay. All right.
It holds up so well. Those movies.
It does. But if
What? No?
I mean, I feel like the third one was the first movie where people thought, okay, the CG has come of age and it's amazing, but I don't feel like it does hold up that well, personally. The first 2 are more about talking than they were about effects.
about characters.
Yeah, lots of characters.
Yeah, we call that story.
you know.
All right, maybe Lord of the Rings isn't for you, but this has got to be for you. Other big franchises that got locked in, Mario.
Oh, what happened?
Mario is getting a new film.
Oh no.
Oh, yes.
Wait. Do we need a reminder of the last Mario film? I put a link in there.
This is not the Mario live action film.
There's only been one, right?
There's only been, yes.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
This is an animated film, and Nintendo has a relationship with Universal and Illumination, who makes the there you go, who makes the Despicable Me and Minion movies. And it's funny because Nintendo has a relationship with Ubisoft, has the Rabbids, and the Rabbids are basically the Minions. They're the exact same characters.
Oh, that's weird, and they did that crossover game this year.
Yeah, exactly. So Mario already has relationships with Minion-like characters. I don't expect full-on Minions to be in this new Mario film, but Illumination is extremely successful. They have a ton of money. Nintendo has a great IP, and I am interested to see what they do with a Mario movie. You don't think you'd want to show your kids this?
I don't know what would be interesting about it. I don't play Mario.
That's the best part. You don't know what you think would be interesting about it, and so you're ready to be
on.
surprised.
You want Cappy. You want to see Cappy on the big
so
screen.
optimistic about this.
I can be optimistic.
Mario is about the gameplay. It has nothing to do with anything else. Gameplay doesn't exist in a movie. What am I interested in? Show me.
Toad. Captain Toad.
All right. Good luck.
Yeah, impress Jeremy for his kids, for the sake of his kids.
Kids will like it.
Yeah.
They are not discerning.
As
Kids,
previously
kids
established.
are the worst.
Yeah, and yeah. And one last bit of pop culture news. Out this week is Artemis, Andy Weir's book and audiobook, as narrated by Rosario Dawson. I have the audiobook. I'll be listening to it over Thanksgiving travels.
Right with you.
And he's doing a book tour right now. Maybe visiting your town if you want to see Andy.
What are the early reviews like?
Reviews are great.
Cool.
Reviews are great. And they really celebrate the world building he does. So the premise is it's about a protagonist who lives on the moon, on a colony of the moon. That's all I'll say.
Can't wait.
That's all I'll say. And apparently,
I totally cover my ears because I've been going spoiler free on this.
Sorry about that. Okay.
No, it's fine. I actually knew. I've heard a fair amount, but I'm so excited about this. The Kindle's locked and loaded.
Expectations are very high.
Probably too high.
Probably, yes. Probably too high.
But he's had as much time as he wants to work on it. That's what's most important.
And he spent a whole year just on mapping out how the way that world works.
Cool.
You should have him in on Still Untitled. I think Adam and him are still friends. So.
I would love to have him on Still Untitled. I think it's more probably Andy's availability at this point.
Oh,
He's doing
sure.
a book
I'm
tour.
just post-book tour. I'm sure Andy will drive up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that does it for pop culture news. Let's talk about some tech. All right. One more week into iPhone 10. Jeremy, how you feeling about it?
I disabled the attention to unlock feature.
Really?
Why not? I'm not. It's like that's a weird security concern. I don't have that problem. So now I suppose I could be sleeping and my kids could unlock the phone. All right, that's true. But I just wanted it to be faster. It's a little slow.
So wait. Like you mean the Face ID?
The Face ID, yeah.
You think it's slow?
Because I'm using it constantly. I'm like multiple times an hour. I'm opening my phone and I just want it to be half a second faster.
When you say attention is disabled, just to give me a picture of what that means, it's still using your face, but your eyes don't have to be looking at the interface.
Yep.
So this is, I think, is interesting. We've actually been doing some testing at the office this week, and hopefully we'll be shooting a video later today about it. Trying to really decipher how Face ID, the order of operations in which it works. Mm-hmm. There are two cameras and there are two projectors on the Nook of the iPhone, right? There's your front-facing camera, which is just your standard HD camera, high resolution, high frame rate, and then there's a IR camera that can see IR light. Emitter-wise, there are two emitters. There's what they call flood illuminator, and you can actually see this if you turn off the lights and you use a night vision camera. It's very bright. It kind of floods the room in flashes of IR light. And then there's the dot projector, which is what they made a big deal of in their keynote, which is a emitter that shoots a randomized sequence of 30,000 dots. Now, not all 30,000 dots go on your screen. It's a really wide blast.
On your face.
Yeah. And so there's the wide blast on your face, and that's probably aligned with the IR camera. So the IR camera field of view can catch whatever the dots land on. Because if you had one that went beyond that field of view, it wouldn't make any sense to be a waste of dots or waste of camera space. And this order of events, as we've kind of deciphered it, is the flood illuminator blinks, flashes.
It doesn't just turn on. That's interesting.
It's not a continuous sequence. It blinks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's synced up with the IR camera or the HD camera, so it only captures images when it blinks.
Yep.
And the reason it needs to blink is so it can work in the dark, right? Because then if if you're in the dark, the HD camera isn't going to see
You're saying
your face.
that's the reason why it is IR,
exactly
not why it blinks.
And
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's the reason why it's IR. So it lights up your face when it blinks, and then the camera, when it sees a face, step one, it has to recognize it's a face. Then it will go to step two, and it'll ask whether you're looking at it, right? The attention thing. You
Okay.
kind of cut that out in turning off the attention feature.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say for your phone, it sees that a face. And what we've discovered is that recognition of quote unquote a face can be a photo. Doesn't need to be
Well, how do you know it transitions to the next step?
because you see the dot illuminator pop up.
So that doesn't happen unless it sees a face?
Exactly.
It's linear. That's so strange.
And it happens like all within like half of a second. So if you watch our sequences, and this will all be in video, make it much more clear, what you see is flood, like face looks white, everything looks white, or very high contrast, like bright. And then the moment it goes on to what it sees as a face, a real face, a photo of a face, or even a life cast, then flood illuminator, dot projector goes on, and the dot projector goes on once per test. That's it. Blinks
And
once.
it doesn't combine flood with dot. It's only
Only
one or the
dot.
other. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
And the dot gives you the depth map.
Yeah.
And then
Then it says face or no face.
it says your
Person or no person.
your
Yeah.
person or no person.
That's cool.
The dot projector does not recognize a life cast.
Okay.
So life cast will not fool it.
Well,
And I think because of the reflectivity of skin versus like a plaster,
yeah.
we haven't tried it with the silicone life cast, but my life cast will not fool it. Now, the attention thing is a really the interesting thing, right? Like, how does it work? And I think previous weeks we speculated, no one actually written about this or kind of figured it out. We thought maybe it does some computational imaging, right? Like it can see where your pupils are relative to where your eye is, and like figure out that it's looking at, right? Looking at the camera, because it works with just one eye.
Is the IR part doing that attention?
So this is what Gunther actually came up with this, and we think he's completely right. It's IR that's bouncing into the back of your eyes and reflecting. It's cat eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And the
So that
cat
means
eyes only work when you look directly at your IR source.
So you should be able to test this with sunglasses, and you should be able to unlock your phone.
Yep, because sunglasses, IR goes through, and you can see. But that's the brilliant thing. They can deduce attention because of the one-way bounce back into the back of your eyes. So we wanted to see if you could fool it with like an IR LED.
Right.
Right?
But I'm curious because I don't understand how it can detect the retina looking at you with just the dot projection.
No, the dot projection is after the flood illuminator.
Yeah. Do you think it does the attention during the flood
Yes,
portion?
100%.
Okay.
Because the attention, if you have attention on, it will not give you the dot illuminator unless you're looking at it.
I should bring in. I have.
Sequence events is recognize that it is a face, either 2D face or real 3D face. That's no depth needed. 2, attention, which means does it see blinding white IR light bouncing directly back from your eyes into it?
Yeah.
2 glowing eyes.
Okay.
And 3, then dot projector structure of face.
So we just put up in our house, one of our windows faces the east sun and gets a lot of the kitchen that it comes into heats up a lot. So we got this IR blocking film to put in our windows. I should bring that in because that'll help you test this. Because the IR LED may not create the kind of interference you're looking for.
Exactly. Yeah, and we tried like a perfect mirror.
Yeah.
Like, using a spoon or something, and I don't know if it combines the bounce back with the image of the face, and to say that it needs these 2 bright IR spots right in the center of what it thinks is a face before it activates dot projector. But we haven't been able to fool the attention yet. The attention is like the magic part, and
But you've turned it off? You turn off the attention necessary?
Yes. We've tried it with turning off the attention, and a photo of the face will activate dot projector.
Right, but still your life cast wouldn't unlock
Livecast wouldn't unlock it.
I saw that there was a story about a child was able to unlock his mom's phone.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I mean, it's not surprising. My kid was able to buy something on the PlayStation Network using the PlayStation Eye login.
Right.
Because the system thought that he was me. This is obviously the iPhone is a lot higher tech than the PlayStation Eye. So we were supposed to not be able to do that unless you're an identical twin.
I think in terms of security, nothing's going to beat a passcode for a long time.
Yeah.
And this is a combination that middle ground between convenience and security.
Yeah.
And if you look back to when the first iPhone came out or when the first smartphones came out, everyone having something like Face ID turned on by default, which is probably more than how many people had Touch ID turned on by default, which is definitely way more than how many people had passcodes on by default. So many people ran their smartphones without passcodes for a long time, and this is much faster. And it may not be as secure as a custom, 20 character, 1Password style key, but it works fast enough for me at least. Maybe not fast enough for Jeremy.
I live life a little faster than you.
Just a little bit faster. So that's been our testing with iPhone's Face ID. Other tech news: Firefox has a new version that's came out. It's called Firefox Quantum. Have either of you downloaded it?
What do you mean a new version?
A big release, overhauled. Apparently, it's Firefox 57 technically. Speed is the biggest thing. Has a whole new rendering engine. They call it Quantum, and they say it's like even twice as fast as the last version of Firefox, which came out a couple months ago. So it's supposed to be faster than Chrome. The other thing is that it has low memory usage, which anyone who uses Chrome,
interesting. Yeah.
And which means low battery usage also. And the UI looks really good. Yeah, I mean, Google is so entrenched that they don't even have to make Chrome fast, and people would stick with Chrome because of the way it's tied into your passwords and Gmail and all the other services you use. That's the thing honestly holding me back from using Firefox.
Well, Firefox also got bloated. Like the UI around it about using extensions and whatnot got a little hefty. So a simplified UI is a great way to at least claw back.
Yeah, Firefox was the Chrome.
Yeah.
It was the browser of preference to everybody until Chrome.
Yep.
All it takes is a vulnerability to get people to switch.
I don't even think so. I think people are clueless. They want to use a thing that came built, that they recognize the name of.
Did
and
you see
unfortunately,
somebody at Microsoft was doing a demo of one of their services using Edge, obviously.
Yep.
And public demo, and then browser just like couldn't do it, and he was failed. So he opened up a new tab and downloaded Chrome.
Oh no!
Live installed Chrome, and then went back to their internal Microsoft service.
Someone's getting yelled at.
Fine.
Oh,
it was funny.
Wow. Going back to Apple and iOS, a feature that people have been long awaiting. It's now in beta. It is Apple Pay Cash, a way for people with Apple phones to send each other money, like with PayPal or Venmo. I think it's.
Is this actually live, or is it's just beta?
It's just beta.
But I mean, is it in the beta? Like you have to download the iOS beta to get it?
No. It's public beta in. Oh, sorry. It is in iOS 11.2 beta 2.
Okay.
So you have to opt in using the beta program.
Yeah.
Because they don't put beta features out. I guess they do beta features out.
It's
like portrait
mode.
One.
That's true.
Right?
That's
portrait
right.
mode's a beta feature.
Yeah, Siri for a long time.
Yep. So the idea is that your credit card or debit card that's attached to Apple Pay, and you can it's built into messages, and there's, the same type of fees that you would have with credit cards, a few percent, and no fees with debit cards. So.
So I can send money to somebody with no fees.
Through direct,
if I use a debit card.
With debit card or bank account, which is how like Square Cash works. And so
Interesting.
basically, they just want to take all the business that Square Cash and Venmo have been doing.
That's interesting.
And with using the proximity sensors of NFC that's built into the phones.
Do you know? Does it go into an account that you then have to transfer into your bank account, or does it automatically credit?
I don't know, and I really hope that would be the way to do it, because I hate that's how PayPal and Venmo make money, is they hold
interest
money and they make interest off and they you can't pay with those accounts unless you manually specify. They always pay directly from your bank account, and you can only extract money out if you do it manually. Yeah, I don't like that. A feature that is very popular on iOS and people use a lot, that's making its way maybe onto the Windows side in a future update, is an AirDrop-like feature. So
AirDrop from only Microsoft devices to other Microsoft devices?
Windows to Windows.
Yes.
So, like, the reason there was a big pause is, like, no one has any Windows mobile devices.
Well, Windows, your laptops have Bluetooth.
I meant, like, phone. Like, where I find AirDrop super functional is when you have multiple laptops that can just
Phones?
AirDrop to each other, and the phones.
Yeah.
And Windows doesn't have many people on the phones. I guess the Surface laptops, this is great.
It's great. I'm glad they're adding it. It can't
Now-
hurt. Can't hurt.
The problem is that I guess for people with desktops, do most desktops, most motherboards, I guess they all have Bluetooth. Most of them have Bluetooth radios now.
It won't work over LAN? Like, it won't just work, like, even if you're...
It says, the reports I've read have said it's a Bluetooth feature. I would love for it to be also Wi-Fi or also LAN.
Yeah.
But then if you're on LAN, then you're just moving files over network. Oh, I mean, the UI is the secret sauce.
It's the UX. Like,
Yeah.
people don't want to open their network and, like,
Right,
find the other
right.
computers
They
and
just
share
want
a
to
folder.
drop to this person.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Microsoft Dropbox, their equivalent.
Yep.
Of.
Dropbox. Yep.
Ooh. Did you ever use CompuServe forums back in the day?
CompuServe.
This predates like Usenet, doesn't it? Is old
No.
of old school. It goes back real
It
far.
does. It goes back to the 80s, right? Or at least the early 90s.
Well, how far back does Usenet go? About
Usenet's
then.
deep into the 80s. CompuServe, man, that was the service. That was pre-AOL. That was the AOL before AOL, right? Like, you would sign up, you'd get a number that you dialed into CompuServe, and that was just what people thought was
That was the internet.
The internet, essentially. It wasn't a bulletin board system. It was a whole thing you subscribe to, log in, check your email.
Well, no longer.
Oh well.
CompuServe forums are being taken down.
In a couple weeks. So when I heard about this story, I went on to the CompuServe forums just to check it out. There are active users that are still like posting stuff like, which router should I get? And like actively getting help. Not many, but there's still active users on the CompuServe forums after all these years.
Like people who were once CompuServe customers, or
It's hard to tell.
Google's never taken me to CompuServe for a search. Why are they there?
I have no idea. I would guess they've been there forever,
Yeah.
like you say.
All right.
It's not so bad though. People are nice on here. When's the last time you were on a forums and people were nice?
Now
Pretty rare.
Now I want to check it out.
Maybe you can bring it back.
It'll just transition to a Google.
I'm sure archive.org will take care of archiving everything there. So that's good.
And then we didn't cover the story last week, but it happened just as we were recording. Disney apparently is starting to take off and C&Ds on some Disney IP'd objects in Thingiverse.
Well, now I feel like this is a little overblown.
Yeah.
Now I actually I don't know the details of this, but and when I read that this was happening, I went over there to like grab things, and
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
still there.
A lot is still there.
It's
a lot
still
of
there.
Yoda heads.
Like,
was it just one user?
I feel like Disney's always taken down some stuff, but they're not taking down everything.
So the thing that was called out was Flowalistics low poly stormtroopers, and some of his were taken down. Some are still up, as you said, as last checked. So some high profile stuff. I mean, it would be easy if Disney really wanted to, their lawyers really wanted to make an all out sweep.
And that's been the fear ever since Lucas sold Disney the
Right.
rights to Star Wars.
Right. They could just look at most downloaded or most popular, most upvoted, and then just see these top 15.
Yeah.
But they haven't. There's still some very popular things still there. So, but no one should be surprised if they do. And the point remains that it's something to be cognizant of if you're designing things that aren't your IP. Like, they have the right to take it down, even if you add a lot of your own art to it.
Yeah, even if you modeled it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But the thing is, like, Disney, back when at least the rule under Lord Lucas was that if you weren't making money on it, it's okay.
Yeah. That feels like it's supportive of this new technology that's emerging and supportive of the community if you act like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe if you do see Star Wars stuff out there, you don't want to assume it'll be there forever. Maybe you do want to download.
Or
these
maybe
things.
if you're making Star Wars stuff, you
Yeah.
shouldn't assume it stays up.
Yeah, or give it an interesting name, like the aptly named Millennium Malkin that is available on Thingiverse.
Is that a real thing?
It is.
Yeah. I'll have to look that up.
Well, another company making Star Wars stuff that's out this week is EA with Star Wars Battlefront 2, and a little bit of a controversy with the game.
Little bit.
Just a little bit. So this is a highly anticipated game. You know, a lot of people love the first Battlefront, and this one will have a full-blown single-player campaign. People also love the multiplayer. I can't wait to play it. But the controversy is in some of these microtransactions. Or you could even call them macrotransactions, and how much EA originally had priced some of these characters to unlock if you wanted to unlock them by paying as opposed to playing the game.
Wait a minute, don't I pay for Battlefront 2?
You pay for the game.
Like full price, right?
You pay for the game, and you could unlock the characters on your own time. So I think it's like 40 hours or something to unlock like Vader or like it takes a while.
Yeah.
It's just like, way back in the day, if you're playing a game like Battlefield 2, you couldn't get the nicest guns unless you actually earned them, and it felt great to actually earn them. But some people also like just paying for the unlocks, and so the option is there, and the outrage is in that pricing. And the response to it was not great.
You don't say.
So both the official EA response and then the reaction to that response. But it brings up the question of, the complaints from some gamers and some people in the community is that, why does EA need more money? Doesn't the development costs get covered just by the box price of the game, your $60? And the answer, honestly, is no. If you look at how much games cost these days.
I don't know about that. They could probably make the money back that they need in order to make it, but they are a public company.
And they need to give shareholders a way to feel good about their investment.
They're always going to look for ways to earn more money, and they're going to push it as far as they can until there's enough pushback in order to make it stop.
So the line is wherever the line is ever moving. You're saying the line is whenever there is pushback. So pushback is good then, and EA did step back and concede and lower the prices for the unlocks for some of the characters, but
only under heavy duty pressure though.
Right. So would you not have enjoyed the game? For $60?
Oh, I didn't enjoy the first one because I didn't like even the fact that it wasn't an even playing field when a new player would join.
So it's not hats, it's actual abilities.
The fact that it's not aesthetics, that it's not just, cosmetic accoutrements that I can unlock to make myself look different. It's actual new guns and weapons and abilities like jump jets and things.
Yeah.
That other people have that are more experienced than me and they're more powerful. I didn't like that. That just felt like bad design. Now, the people who play the game, they say those things that you unlock, they don't make that big of a difference. I still felt like I was at a disadvantage. And so I would prefer something like Overwatch where all of the unlocks are cosmetic.
Well, now you're going to get a bunch of people who have paid for the higher-powered things and don't have the experience. They don't know how to use the jetpack.
Yeah, it's all messed up.
Yeah. They'll fly into that Sarlacc pit.
The reaction has been almost too far on some level. Like, people are right to be angry and upset for a huge game like this to be so dependent on microtransactions.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the vitriol has really spilled over probably like a note too far.
Yeah.
Like, people are calling EA and just threatening them.
Threatening developers.
Yeah. And
or the support people.
That seems like that's not the way it needs to be. Like,
yeah.
Get a refund. Don't buy the game. Don't pre-order it. That kind of stuff is how you get your message across.
Don't pre-order it. Yeah, that's a big one. My son, my 10-year-old son, has started playing a new microtransaction game called Magic: The Gathering. Maybe you've heard of this.
What?
It is a real-world microtransaction game.
Well, you're buying packs.
Exactly. And you know how many packs you can buy before you max out your character?
How many?
Infinite. It turns out.
Wait, you don't have a character in Magic:
Infinite.
The Gathering.
You have a deck.
You have a deck.
You know,
You can buy. Your deck can be ever expansive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
They figured. Yeah. Wizards of the Coast. They figured out microtransactions
Does your kid
long ago.
Does he like Magic?
He's crazy about it.
Oh, Magic players used to be shunned.
Magic what?
Magic players used to be shunned.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like,
it was in middle school when I was middle school when I was playing Magic. It was not the cool.
Do you
thing
have
to
cards still?
No, I sold all my cards.
Okay.
Same here. I got one of my first posts on the internet was when I was looking to trade for a Magic card that is still sort of infamous.
Wow.
It's very jargon heavy, let's just say.
I didn't know you both were players.
Was it revised or?
No, it was what's the Lotus card?
Oh, Black Lotus.
Black Lotus.
I've seen counterfeits in the wild. That's what used to be the most. I used to buy InQuest magazine to see what the values of those cards were.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I had no idea. I played that Star Trek version of Magic.
CCG. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A customizable card game.
And I bought a handful of packs.
I love that game.
It was
the
fun.
other Star Wars one. The Star Trek one was really great because you had you set up it's like proto board games. They're basically board games, tabletop games,
Yeah.
right? The Star Trek one, you set up a row of planets, and then you have your ships, and you basically travel around the planets and activate missions on the planets.
Okay.
You know, send landing parties,
Yeah.
combat with ships.
There you go. Microtransactions.
Fun memories.
They're everywhere, and I
Yes.
hate them. I do. You should improve your character, even if it's a video game. You should improve yourself through hard work. I believe that. I believe video games can teach lessons like that. And if you learn the lesson that you can improve your character by buying it, then that's not teaching anything. Nothing I want the kids to learn. Take that.
Last bit of technology news. If you have a Nintendo Switch, which is as of right now, pretty up there in terms of like the best piece of technology this year, you may get Hulu soon. First piece of video on demand software.
Oh, Netflix isn't on there yet?
No. Hulu for Nintendo Switch is coming.
All
I'm
right.
trying to see if there's a date.
Do either of you subscribe to Hulu?
I do. Yeah.
I do as well.
Is there still a free tier?
On the computer only, I believe.
Okay.
Their new interface that came out like a month ago is awful.
Oh.
It is so hard to navigate. So you might need a Nintendo Switch controller to get around this thing because it's trying to do like personalized recommendations like Netflix does, but its interface I think is just terrible. So this is great because people that have Hulu Live TV now can have Live TV on their Switch.
That's right. It's already out, and Netflix maybe next. Who knows? But it's nice value adds for people with the Switch.
Rocket League is out for Switch too.
Oh.
I imagine
Very
you
nice.
won't be hearing from Joey for a while.
No.
Does he have a Switch yet?
I don't
I
know.
don't think so. And then finally, if you have an Android phone or an iPhone and you like Pokemon Go, Niantic's next game, AR game, real world game, is going to be Harry Potter themed.
This sounds cool to me.
It sounds real cool to me too.
I mean, I'm more into Harry Potter than Pokemon. On the scale of things I'm into, it's higher. And
I'm up for having wizarding battles
Yeah.
on random street corners in the middle of the night.
do it. Yeah, that would be interesting. Like, what if you can do different motions and it does different spells?
I mean, Niantic doesn't change
That would be
much
awesome.
of the mechanics of their game going back to Ingress.
They've only done 2 games. Right?
I mean,
Well-
so much of Pokemon Go was built on top of Ingress in terms
Yeah.
of
And I
seeding the data.
And
Expect the same thing with Harry Potter.
Whoa. This is a Pokemon gym. It's not a wizard school. Get out of here, you wizards. I'm here catching Pokemon. But it says on my map.
All right. I don't know. Sounds good to me.
And I think that does it for technology news. Before we move on to our next segment, I want to thank again the sponsor of this week's episode of This Is Only a Test, and that is Squarespace. If you're ready to start your new business, make it stand out with Squarespace. They have beautiful templates created by world-class designers, and Squarespace makes it easy to turn your idea into a new and unique website. You can showcase your work, blog, you can publish content, or sell products and services in just a few clicks. Customize everything from look and feel to using beautiful templates, and also, like my favorite part, no programming or upgrades ever required. Everything is optimized for mobile right out of the box, and you get analytics to help you grow in real time. And if you have any question, though, Squarespace's award-winning 24/7 customer support is there to help. The future is coming. Make it brighter with Squarespace. Now head over to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, use the offer code TEST, T-E-S-T, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Once again, that's squarespace.com with the code TEST.
Now it's time for a moment of science. All right, usually when I get push notifications from the AP on my phone, it's usually bad news. Last night, though, it's a little bit different. We had our first case of scientists using human gene editing in a human being. It's in Chicago, there is a gentleman there. He's 44 years old. He has a metabolic syndrome called Hunter syndrome. And Hunter syndrome is basically where he has a gene that is not functioning properly, that doesn't allow him the ability to process carbohydrates normally. And that sounds somewhat simple, but it has some massive ramifications. Like some basic functions don't work anymore, and people with this disease usually die within a few years of emerging with this disease, including like having ramifications like brain damage. Right now, the treatment is this sort of infusion treatment that costs between $100,000 and $400,000 a year. And it's not entirely effective at preventing the brain damage. So essentially,
a year for the rest of their life?
For the rest of their life. Most of the people that have this condition are bound in their wheelchair, completely dependent until they pass away. So he's sort of an outlier that he's lived this long with this condition. And so they're trying an edit to that gene to correct this directly in his system. We won't know for a little while if it worked. But for a case like this is what gene editing was born for, this technology. This is a person that clearly has a gene that's wrong, that is sort of that is mutated, and we need to fix it, otherwise he's going to die.
What's the mechanism to change a gene like that?
This is the CRISPR system, where we basically take an RNA and use the Cas system to find a specific area on a DNA strand and clip it out and replace it with something else.
But don't you have your DNA in all of your cells? They don't all need to be changed?
For him, they have to be changed in a lot of places.
Oh, well, that's incredible.
Because he is an adult. In an embryo, it's a very different situation. Because then the cells divide and proliferate that DNA that's been edited.
Did either of you watch Adam and Neil deGrasse Tyson's talk at their panel at New York Comic Con, where they discussed this at length? Discuss the ethics of gene editing, and like, you know, some people grow up. I mean, we're not talking about life or death situations, but you know, it's how do you avoid having designer babies? And what is that bare minimum that you want to make sure that people have?
I didn't watch this, and this is an interesting conversation because in this case, I don't think many people have ethical concerns about this particular case. None of these edits are ever going to go beyond this gentleman's body. They're just there. But when you start editing germline cells that actually pass on to another human, now you're passing on an edit to another generation, which is going to keep passing it on for generations to come. Now you have real ethical ramifications to discuss about the proliferation of that change. I mean, people say unintended consequences. It also brings up designer babies, which I think is actually a metaphor that's too far here. It's really thinking about just the proliferation of edits,
like a butterfly
when
effect?
we don't know how far those will go. I mean, sort of.
Wow.
Isn't it real different when you think about if we edit DNA using a technology that's only 5 years old and it's going to pass down generation to generation? Doesn't that make you feel just a little bit different about the technology than if we just edit one guy's DNA who's going to die?
But you're not talking about procreation passing on. You're talking about germ changes that would potentially be passed through the air.
No. Germline means through procreation.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's okay. I'm okay with that. You know, I mean, if it's the right kind of changes. I mean, isn't that what you want to change? You don't want this type of thing to be passed on.
Yeah, but when we're talking about diseases like this, that's one thing. When we're talking about editing, Norm's DNA so he has blue eyes.
Yeah, I know that's not good.
Right?
That's not good.
But there's all sorts of stuff in between those two.
Contacts for Norm.
Contacts will just
Contacts will solve it. I also want to highlight there, and I'll put a link in the show notes, the first ever atomic spectroscopy movie of CRISPR in action.
Yeah.
So you can actually see the movie of it doing the cut on the DNA. It doesn't have the special effects of like a Weta film, but it's still pretty remarkable to actually see it in real time over about 20 seconds. Actually see it actually enact a cut on the DNA.
When will we know if it's successful?
On this gentleman, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't think for a few weeks at this point.
Hey, that's not bad. Great. We'll tune back in.
All right. Do you ever watch Seinfeld?
I did.
Yeah. Do you remember when Kramer went swimming in the East River?
Oh.
Like he got tired of swimming at the gym because it was too busy, so he started going swimming in the East River. And he slept on a mattress and got all funky because who swims in the East River? It's all full of crap. So there's some truth to that. The rivers around New York are pretty polluted. There are wastewater treatment plants that sit on the edge of those rivers that push out their treated water, and even though it's treated, it still carries pollutants. In fact, they push out anywhere from around 1,000 metric tons of nitrogen into the Bronx River each year. This one plant, the Hunt wastewater treatment plant. Well, scientists have been working on how do we actually capture some of that so it's less polluted and clean up this river. And one idea that relates to an upcoming Science Progress episode was actually using mussels for this. Mussels, the little bivalve creatures that are essentially water filters. So they developed a mussel that is it's not inedible, but it doesn't taste real good. Let's just say it has like a secretion of this enzyme that makes it taste bad. And they attached it around a 6x6 barge, a little downstream from this wastewater plant. And it actually picked up around like 60 pounds of nitrogen. Oh. And so they calculated out if you had like a little army of barges, it would take about 100 full-size barges with these mussels just basically on the side of this, that you could start to pull out meaningful amounts of nitrogen and clean up the river. And then once those mussels matured, you would grind them up and they would turn into chicken feed.
Okay, and that's healthy for chickens?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But I don't think it's unhealthy for chickens.
Okay.
But the idea is you'd have to essentially come up with a farm to grow new mussels to replant on these barges.
All right.
I love the idea of this.
Biological solution. I like it. I thought you were going to go to fracking with this because I heard a shocking story on NPR about how the EPA there was a family who was their house was located near a fracking plant. And their son took a bath and was covered in this rash. And it turned out that fracking water had gotten into their water.
Dang.
And the EPA had these studies that they had done that showed that there were potentially devastating biological effects to fracking solutions, the water that's used. And they hadn't released these findings.
I don't know this particular story, but those fracking fluids that Jeremy is referring to are usually they inject additional fluids beyond the water into the frac to create higher hydraulic pressure down there to actually induce the actual cracking of the shale or whatever they're trying to crack down below. And those fluids are supposed to be collected either in these sort of like, sludge ponds or just sort of recycled through the system. But once they're down in those pockets, they can get added to the water treatment table depending on how the crack works. And then they come up in different quantities. So it sounds like in this case, a pretty high concentration came out.
Yeah, apparently in this case, actually there was some illegal dumping of the water involved too. Very bad news. But the fact that the findings weren't released about what these chemicals can do to the human body, and it seems like Aaron Brockovich kind of stuff.
That's for another moment of science, so we can talk about that because there's a lot to say about that. Okay, quantum computing. We've heard about it. So the basic idea of quantum computing is instead of ones and zeros, we can have a 1, a 0, or a 1 and a 0 at the same time.
What?
Quantum superposition.
You mean a 10?
Not a 10.
Well, they need to teach this in kindergarten where kids are just like, okay,
sure.
That makes sense.
Sure. Quantum superposition, that's fine. So at a low number of quantum bits or qubits, that's not a big deal, but that scales exponentially. So at 50 qubits, because of the exponential scale, you can essentially do the processing of 10 quadrillion bits. That's a huge number. The reason that number is important is because that is not 10 quadrillion bits. You can do 10 quadrillion states. The important number is that's the number that's seen as passing traditional computing power. So if you can get to 50 qubits, you're there. I was at an IBM lab, 2 months ago, where they're developing this, and they're publicly available, and you can actually use services that interact with this they've released a cloud product that interacts with an 8-qubit system. And these quantum computers, by the way, they look like these kind of weird tiered devices where they're pumping helium-3 through it to cool it down to like near zero, and essentially have a wire that's passing through this area where current doesn't flow in one direction, it flows in both directions at the same time to create the superposition effect, which is real weird, and it only happened near absolute zero.
Wow.
But anyway, so there are these weird-looking devices, and there's a race now for what's called quantum supremacy, which is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Is this idea of whoever can get to 50 qubits has beaten what traditional computing can handle. And so Google, IBM, Intel, and a number of academic labs from like Yale, Stanford, a bunch of other places are all in this race. And they all released, except Intel, all released papers in the past 2 weeks about where they are with this.
Are they all using the same techniques?
For the most part. I mean, there's lots of like very technical differences, but their build is the same because they all have to use the same cooling idea.
And are they sharing the information with each other?
Yeah, I mean, they're publishing papers, so they're not hiding, but they are hiding information too. Like, they're not actively sharing information to get there because there's a lot of money at stake.
Right.
But this is not going to be anything that reaches even consumer hardware anytime
Well,
soon.
like I said, like you can use a cloud service and interact with the IBM 8-qubit machine right now. It's not coming to commercial processes. The idea of these quantum computers is never to replace conventional processors. It's to do tasks that conventional computers can't do. And these papers are really interesting because it shows that Google came out and said they're at 49.
Oh, wow. We haven't
And
reached it yet. No
IBM
scrutiny?
said they're at 50, and Google came back and said, no, you're at this like kind of hybrid 49 state. And it's like
Very quantum
it's
of
like
them.
there's this like crazy smack talk going back and forth about this. And so there's also some physics limitations. It isn't like Moore's law where it's like, oh, 49 to 50, you'll just do that tomorrow. But they are really close to getting there.
I want to
now.
see a rap battles of history from these guys.
And that's it for Moment of Science this week.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
Bunch of news in VR this week. Let's talk about hardware. We have, of course, from Facebook the Oculus Go that I don't know if developers have them yet, but they should. They said before the end of the year, and that's going to be released next year. But on the HTC side, we'd also been waiting for a headset. They announced with Google their Daydream headset. Now that headset is going away.
No
more HTC Daydream headset, a standalone headset. And instead, what we're going to get is a Vive standalone headset.
6 degree of freedom.
Now, bunch of caveats. This is Asian markets only, not American markets. No details on other specifications in terms of resolution, field of view, or that stuff. But what they did say is that it's 6 degrees of freedom inside-out tracking that will run games on Viveport, and all of this is basically, it sounds very much like a Santa Cruz type equivalent. It runs on a Qualcomm mobile processor, 835 processor.
What's their release time frame?
They haven't said.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that's worrying me a little bit about this is the controllers are 3 degrees of freedom controllers, not 6 degrees of freedom controllers. The headset will let you move around in positional space.
Yeah.
But your hands relative to the headset, just rotational movement.
Yeah, the Santa Cruz are tracked.
They're tracked. And so, but I think they want to get out ahead of Santa Cruz. So hopefully we'll see something interesting next year. Now, because this is mobile, this is not Steamvr. It's stuff just through Viveport.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like we're going to probably end up getting one of these, do you?
In terms of like next year or just
I mean, us had tested just because
it's Asian
not,
market.
It's not for our market.
It's not for our market.
And, they're not interested in our opinion, so.
Yeah.
Harsh.
Now, this week, actually today as we're recording this, if you have invested in a Windows mixed reality, basically Windows VR headset, which there are more than half a dozen out there right now, including even the Samsung Odyssey, you will be able to tap into your Steam VR games today. Steam VR
You're
beta
kidding.
access November 15th.
No way.
Yes way.
Wow, that's actually a big deal.
It is a big
because
deal.
That's what's been holding back the Windows Mixed Reality, and I mean it's a month old at this point, if that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's not like they've had a chance to like have anything happen to them, but it is a big deal that you now have access to all these Steam games.
Yes, all users. Previously, it was just for developers and probably developers to get their systems tested out, to tweak, see if they need to tweak their games and tracking to work with the range of these headsets. But you can just navigate to the VR hub and select from the Steamvr software and activate it. We'll be testing this extensively
That's great.
because we've been waiting. There's not a lot to do in the Windows, the Cliff House.
Yeah.
There's like not even a lot of VR dedicated apps. So
is there supposed to be 100% compatibility across
we don't know.
SteamVR?
We will have to try.
Yeah.
We'll try a lot of our classics.
All right. I mean, the Windows Mixed Reality is an interesting product. It's certainly the setup is the easiest I've seen.
Yeah. I mentioned Coco earlier, and there is a new Coco experience, VR experience that's now on the Oculus platform. So you check that out.
Did you ever try the Blade Runner one?
I did not get a chance to try the Blade Runner
me
one.
neither.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think this model of releases related to movies is going to catch on?
Totally.
Hasn't it already?
I mean, I know it's happening.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean. Is I don't know if the community response has been a lot of enthusiasm with it.
I don't know if that's a part of if they care. You know, it's just like they're getting these things out. They must use them in some official capacity somewhere at some red carpet event. Like they must just have VR headsets and people try them in line or they show them off. They must like them for some reason that has nothing to do with what Reddit thinks. You know? That's my assumption because they keep coming out. And I haven't seen an amazing one yet. It'll be Ready Player One. That'll be the winner.
If that doesn't work,
5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think you'll be disappointed. Is my guess on
With
that
the
one.
Coco thing?
Well, no, with the Ready Player One.
Oh, with
thing,
the
'cause
Ready
your
Player One thing?
expectation is
Yeah.
the Oasis, and you're not going to get the Oasis.
There was something for Super 8. That was like the first one that ever came out, where like there was a developer that actually worked with Valve or like used their engine to make a Super 8 thing, and it was good. Like for the time, it was really surprisingly good. Like it was just a story, but it was interactive. Like you walk through the space and you see a monster in a train, and it's scary. Yeah.
Wow.
So it can be done.
Now, if you're one of the early adopters of HoloLens, you may want to try this out. A developer has ported over the game from the Star Trek TNG episode, The Game, into HoloLens.
no way, dude!
yes.
What?
Yes.
Why did this take so long?
I don't know. Well, because in the actual game, you are tapping into your brain synapses and your emotional state, and HoloLens doesn't do that.
That's
but
right. People get addicted to it.
They do.
That's great.
So it looks like a chessboard, and like these flute things come up, and Wesley Crusher gets totally addicted
Run,
to
Will.
it.
Run, Will.
You gotta try this game.
So-
And we don't recommend quick flashes of light from Android as a
Yeah.
way of breaking away from the game.
Why HoloLens?
Because
That's what it was, though.
It was a holographic projection.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
like HoloLens is a professional product. Who has a HoloLens?
Well, developers who have them want to make things to do with them.
This is
so-
great. This is like
I want to play this.
like adventure. Like when you had a mainframe and you could play a game on it. Like that's what this is.
You do have to actually attach a biometric sensor to your thumb that you can hold on to, so it does get your
That's fine.
emotional state,
Where do you get that from?
low stress. And on his website, you go to robburke.net. You can see him actually. You can see some video footage of what it looks like from that perspective.
That's great.
Yeah. Can't wait. And then finally, in VR news, did you see this haptic shape illusion video that was on YouTube? Researchers, I want to say in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I may be totally getting that wrong.
Haptic shape. I don't know what that means.
University of Tokyo. Yep.
I did see this.
Yeah. So they've been doing experiments.
propose a
Oh, whoa!
novel-
There you go.
Sorry.
They're developing accessories, and the idea that how do you create the illusion of holding up something like a big sword
Yeah.
when you have something when you don't want to actually hold a big sword
Mm-hmm.
in the real world. And it's all relative to other objects. So they can fool your brain into thinking you're holding something that's larger than it actually is by shifting the center of gravity,
And-
center of mass.
Right, and creating something with equal or close to mass.
Yes. So with heavier weights, and they 3D printed some prototypes, and they did some line tests and some VR tests. You can hold something that looks like a ping pong paddle with the weights closer to the top of it, and it'll feel like you're holding a sword.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So if that's true, we should be able to do this with a blindfold.
Yeah, totally. Now, of course, you don't get the same type of
No,
wind
because you don't
resistance.
get the visual feedback of it. Either.
Yes, but also you don't get the wind resistance and when you're holding this thing. And I think lightsabers doesn't make sense because all the weight's in the hilt anyway. The idea is that the blade is zero weight.
Fine, photons don't weigh anything.
You
Yes,
don't
I
know
get it.
that. You don't know that.
I don't know that. I don't live in the Star Wars universe. But it leads to thoughts of what if you could create an accessory where the center of mass could shift? Maybe the mass remains the same, but you could shift it up and down.
Wow.
Then it could look like you could have it represent different objects of different sizes by having some type of dynamic shifting of mass.
I don't know. You'd really only need that if it was supposed to dynamically shift in game. It'd be much cheaper.
Difference between holding an axe, a heavy axe that you're swinging, versus a light sword.
Oh, I see what you mean when you switch weapons.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take much to do that. I mean, those old school scales that you do where you shift the weight balance are the same basic idea.
Mm-hmm.
Something else coming out. So a couple of releases this week. You have Skyrim VR for PSVR.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming out this week. It's $60. What do you guys think about that?
For real?
Yeah.
Man. All right. I mean, it's Skyrim. If you haven't played it, it's there's Skyrim.
There's a lot of content there, but I don't know if the experience is going to be worth all that much.
I don't think Skyrim will be better in VR.
I don't know, dude. I mean,
I want to play Fallout in VR.
I
think that game will be better in VR.
Why?
Because I think looking around helps you in that. How does looking around help you in Skyrim?
I don't know.
You don't need that field of view.
That's the weirdest comparison. I mean, they're the same game. It's just one's sort of post-apocalyptic and one's fantasy.
I feel like there's much more stuff coming. All right, fine.
I mean, I do like the building stuff in Fallout, and that might be interesting in VR. That building around you, kind of like the Matrix. But I feel like all I want to do in Skyrim is walk around and look around because that world is so much more beautiful to me than the Fallout world.
It is more beautiful. All right.
I don't know.
And then the other big release this week is From Other Suns. And we played a little bit of it.
We were gonna play more last night. What happened?
No one reached out. I was at my computer.
You didn't reach out.
No, I didn't reach out either. I had work to do.
All right, we gotta play more.
We gotta play more. I gotta get Kishore. Now that you have some time, get you in there.
Must get to Earth.
Yes. And the game is a little bit buggy. Some of the AI doesn't work as well, but from what other people have said, it gets much more difficult when you get closer to Earth.
It's a promising experience. I dig it. You understand the premise?
Not at all.
A roguelike first-person, three-person multiplayer game, co-op. You're on a ship and you travel across the galaxy.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
A Firefly simulator.
Yeah.
The three of us can
Sold.
hold a spaceship, and we can rescue other people from pirates. We can
defend your
space
ship.
stations. We can teleport onto the other ships. We can defend our ship from invasions.
Bridge crew where you have different stations?
Yeah.
There are 3 stations where you have tactical, comms, travel, and there's some NPC interaction. But it's a roguelike, so we got to get to Earth. Got to make it alive. Yeah, can't wait to play. Going back to Fallout and Skyrim, the one thing that would keep me from playing these is lack of social multiplayer. Like Fallout, I know they can't do it because they designed it as a single player game, but if Fallout or Skyrim is successful and Bethesda has the opportunity to create a multiplayer open world VR game or RPG in VR, I would eat that up. And there's no reason they couldn't simultaneously develop for flat screen consoles and just have multiplayer in whatever the next Elder Scrolls game is, whatever the next Fallout is, and then port that over to VR.
I feel like at the same time, we're still at a point where there just aren't the player base. There isn't the player base in order to support a multiplayer game like that.
You don't need the player base. You could design a game. I mean, just like on console games, those games are perfectly fine as single player games. But if you give the ability, just build in the baseline structure so you can have a second player there for combat, for just to chat with someone, explore the world.
Yeah,
that adds so much. Otherwise, you feel lonely.
So you just meant Skyrim plus multiplayer
or Fallout plus multiplayer.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I don't need open world. I don't need MMO.
Mm-hmm.
Don't need MMO. Just like a 2 or 3 or 4 player Fallout.
All right, say please.
Please.
This week. Hey, what have you guys been testing?
What have you guys been testing?
I got my fold scope kit in. This is a paper-based microscope. I think it was in my favorite things of last year. They came out with their professional kit. It's the idea of making a 50-cent microscope that can go to third world countries, and we'll be doing a video on it. So
That's great. Jeremy, you still have Jedi Challenges AR. Your kid's still playing it?
Oh no, I forgot to mention that I had it. So I was asked. Oh, they said, oh, we have this still. I was like, yes, we still have this. So they will be playing that again, but not recently. I don't think that's that bad of a game. Like, I don't know. Like, we put up our projections review yesterday or Monday.
Yeah.
And people are like, no, that's not for me. I mean, it's not for everybody, but if I was a kid and I had access to this at Christmas time, I'd play it for days and days.
Thanksgiving. It's going to be very popular at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We got in. I didn't bring it into the room today. We got our Jibo.
Jibo!
I can't believe it's here.
I can't believe it's here too. I every day going to the office and hey Jibo.
Does Will know it's here?
I don't think Will knows it's here.
I'm sure he's yelling from Pacifica right now.
We got to bring Will in to interact with the Jibo. It's not as capable as an Alexa or even a Cortana.
Yeah.
It's a little slow in its responses. Its text to speech is, I think, fantastic. And the limited things it can do well, it does fairly well.
People don't know what Jibo is.
Jibo was a robot, a home robot that was announced before the Alexa came out. And it was, I believe, an Indiegogo project. So for $400, the promise was to have your own digital assistant, home robot, but it was designed by roboticists who had lots of experience with human-computer interaction, human robotics interaction.
Interesting.
And so it's not like the Alexa in terms of it looking like a static display. It has a light, has a ring light to know when you're talking to it.
It is stationary.
And it is stationary. You can run it with batteries or you can unplug it. But it animates.
It has a face. It rotates.
Well, it has a screen. It's a face, and the screen honestly could be OLED, but
yeah, it's kind of like Eve from WALL-E.
Yeah, it's a rectangular screen. Doesn't blend perfectly into the shape, but its two axes of rotation are charming as hell.
Yeah, and it can spin 360.
Yeah,
so that's kind of neat.
My limited interactions with it were like, if the content on the screen was better, this would be.
If it could tap into Alexa, it would be amazing.
Amazon doesn't let you tap into Alexa voice only. You have to use a button. So you can't activate it by saying the magic word if you're a third party.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe
that's okay.
They could bless it. Like, they could say, okay, you guys can do it.
No, I'd be okay if it required a touch, because it has a touch screen.
But I don't like the touching its head to make it stop.
Yeah,
feels a little weird. Parental.
Yes. But even when you're not actively talking to it, it'll just kind of look around. It has a passive animation that makes it feel alive. I really dig it. I don't think it's worth it, but I really dig it.
Does it know things? Like, can I ask it to Wikipedia things?
You can ask it to. You can read the news, sports scores, timing of things, restaurants near you,
weather.
Yeah.
Does that read out on the screen?
It does. In addition to, actually, no. Some of it does. Not all of it does. It has a camera, so it can take pictures of you.
Huh.
There aren't a lot of the ideas. It'd be great if we could do games. Like if we could do games with children.
Yeah.
Like Simon Says or that kind of stuff. Like even simple things. I think there's a lot of potential here.
Yeah.
But they were more caught up in just getting this out to people who'd backed it, who'd paid a couple $100 for it.
Cool.
So
well, I think you and Jibo should do the podcast next week.
It will definitely be here for the podcast next week.
All right.
It was looking around.
Quite frankly, you'll get better reviews than on me and Jeremy.
Well, there you go. Something to look forward to next week. We'll be with a special guest. We'll have a special guest on the podcast. That does it for this week, though. This is only a test. Been a lot of things to talk about.
Hey, tonight the new MythBusters relaunches.
Yes, on Science Channel.
Science Channel. I'm gonna actually check it out. I don't know how many other people are going to.
I believe the first act of the show is on Facebook, on their Facebook channel, too, if you want to watch that online on your phones. But next week is Thanksgiving. I know Jeremy and you and Kishore are both traveling next week, so
yes.
we'll see you after that. But I will
Look for
be
me
here.
on CNN in those videos of people storming stores on Black Friday.
Storming Best Buy kiosks at airports.
Yeah. Yes.
Got to get those earbuds. Got to get those battery packs. And I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. But I'll be here to see you guys, and we'll chat next week about all sorts of things. Do we have an outro this week?
We do. I can't find the new one, so we'll have to go back to that. But
All right,
here
we're
we
going to go with an old one.
Well, no, it's not. 5 days old from Michael Bucciaroni.
Hi there, I didn't see you. Tested.
Get the balls in his mouth. All the balls come out of his mouth.
This is turning into an outro.
Tested.
But there are our hands. I don't know.
Ah.
I don't know what that is. All right.
And so it did.
Good God. All right.
All right, bye.